We are back, everyone, with the dredge on the Dead Dog Saloon, looking in the shattered mirror, wondering what went wrong during the map choices, picks, and bans. Dino Melon back on the dredge on Dead Dog with his ruin back up and running. They did have the option to switch around builds because it was a bit of housekeeping on behavior side. They did send us to the wrong servers. Dino experienced a high amount of ping, realized what was happening, DM'd a staff member, and we DC'd. So now Dino, second shot at the dredge on Dead Dog. And I mean, kept the same build. They had the option to change builds, but I believe this is the exact same. We see that he is fully confident not running Corrupt Intervention, which is pretty interesting on this map, considering I'm not sure it's one that Dino would be accustomed to, but I know Dino is a very strong dredge player, very strong stealth killer in general. So I imagine that he will find a way to make something work here. And I almost thought I saw a survivor there, but I wonder if it was just the snow particle effects coming off the beautiful snowman dredge skin. And Dino immediately going to go check on his rune, trying to prevent a repeat of last game where it was cleansed in the first few seconds, and does indeed catch Gree out of position here. Gree will make it pallet just barely. Opting to try getting the stun on Dino, try getting the pallet vacuum, but not quite going to get it. And we know a lot of these tiles can be actually pretty tricky to play around against Dredge, and that will ensure a first hit onto Gree, putting our Malthinker Skull into action, going to be making Nightfall generate just a little bit faster for this injury. I mean, little bit, 60%. And it looks like Dino might actually opt to drop this chase, or at least just trying to get info on other survivors. Yes, displaying beautiful use of the new dredge buffs. That teleport is so fast now outside of Nightfall, and actually finding Gree again. My bad, I thought they ran into the water tower, but no, going to be continuing this chase at Shack. Gree will make the Shack pallet. Going to be dropping it here at 5 gens, not unexpected considering you want to make this first chase last as long as possible, especially against a killer like Dredge who can spread pressure across the map so quickly. And I mean, Gree taking Dino right now on a tour of the strongest pallets on the Dead Dog Saloon, but this does not prove to be a very strong pallet against Dredge. This is perfect for a Remnant play, but Gree taking it like a champ and beautifully pathing around that. Will that actually be the down? It will in the end, losing a 50-50 there, but Dino not getting the hit. The ping's just too good on this time around. Not getting it on Dino, eventually getting the down, but that was, importantly, the first generator popped, and that's honestly the best you can hope for against a killer like Dredge. I mean, it's not unexpected that we see first downs happen in the first 30 or so seconds of a game on Dredge, usually on Midwich, just because of how lethal he can be now. So that chase certainly went on for a good long while, but Dino, I'm sure, is more than happy to commit that time to it, as they did get rid of a lot of the map's strongest pallets. They still have the ruin up, they are still in a comfortable spot, and we're about to see our first use in Nightfall here any second. And here we are, Dino going to have an even faster TP now, even more lethal power. And yeah, we're going to see him just traversing the map right now, trying to pick out their next chase, possibly wanting to get a tunnel out onto Gree. That is exactly what they're going to be doing. The Sloppy Butcher going to ensure that these body blocks do cost the survivors valuable time and valuable seconds. It's going to be the chase continuing on to Gree at main. Not a very good main building for Dredge's power. Dino going to try making use out of the very fast TP, but Gree doing a great job holding their check spots, not letting themselves get caught off guard during the Nightfall when the Dredge has no tear radius. And that is going to be the chase. Still continuing to Gree at main. Gree makes the front pallet. This is a very strong pallet. Dino, yes, just going to break through it immediately, but we know Gree has kind of used a lot of the resources on this side of the map, but Dino actually sees G-Bot possibly resetting over here, going to be dropping the chase onto Gree. No, this was not G-Bot. This was, in fact, Slasher, who was caught out. They don't really have resources here. Oh, wait, no, they do still have this pallet. I forgot that Gree did not actually end up using that. That is going to be a beautiful stun from Slasher. And, I mean, they're forcing Dino Melon to waste so much time here. We're at 2 gens, 1 hook on the board, and honestly, I didn't even notice the gens flying as much as they did. Vicinal's gen efficiency this game has been so powerful. We have seen so many gens pop considering the amount of time they're buying. And I mean, that is going to be a beautiful Remnant play from Dino, getting the hit onto Gray. I think what we're seeing right now, Dino knows that they are not going to be able to get the tunnel out onto Gree and still end up with a desirable result. They're going to need to play for just as many hook stages as possible right now, because they don't really have any endgame perks. They don't have many perks that are good for just providing an overwhelming amount of pressure in a short time, unless we see something happen right now. We need to see, honestly, a string of downs, a string of injuries, some incredible use of Nightfall, which I know Dino, and I know Dino knows how to use their Nightfall very effectively. So all it takes in a Dredge set is just one strong use of Nightfall, and suddenly the game can be completely reversed on its head. But to that, Dino is going to be needing to get more injuries, get more downs, and unfortunately the Survivor's doing exactly what you should be doing on Dead Dog Saloon, taking the chase straight to main building, and on a killer like Dredge, I mean, yeah, you can teleport to the lockers, but your Imminent's not going to be very useful in main building. There's not enough line of sight. However, they did just catch G-Bot teleporting out of a locker there. They honestly could have almost gotten that grab. I'm pretty sure they were trying to lock it. And G-Bot doesn't have this pallet here that's just going to be a quick 2-tap. Exactly what you need if you're Dino right now. Wondering, will they opt to slug this? They will. They know they have another injury on the board. If they can just find the injured person out and get the down quickly, they could get something going. That is going to be a body block from Slasher, but I mean, that's 2 injured survivors cooped up in a part of the map that doesn't have much in the way of strong resources. This might just be a down being taken onto Slasher, going to go straight back for Gray, I'm sure. And I mean, when I was talking about how Dredge just one good Nightfall, one good Snowball to get things going, this is exactly what I meant. Getting a string of downs with Ruins still up, ensuring that the generators keep progressing. But fortunately, Gree was able to get the pickup onto G-Bot here, stopping this from being a 3-man slug. And actually, Dino going to return back to their slug on a Slasher, trying to just salvage as much as they can from this Nightfall. I mean, yeah, you're not going to be able to keep slugging this, in my opinion. I don't know if Dino... They will have to catch the Survivor off guard right now. They only have about 20 seconds or so left in Nightfall, maybe 30. And yeah, we see the pickup onto Slasher. Dino was getting something going there, but they are down once again to no slugs. They do still have 3 injuries on the board, though, so... Definitely something can be made of this scenario. Malthinker Skull is going to ensure that Dino has even more chances at Nightfall as the game goes on, along with Broken Doll, making that Nightfall a bit longer. It is going to be the eventual down on G-Bot, opting for the hook now. They see the reset coming through. They know they're not going to be able to keep slugging after Nightfall has ended. They're just going to take their hook stage here, but honestly, despite all that's happening, I wouldn't actually say Dino's in that terrible of a position. They know the Survivors have had to stop working on generators for a little bit to deal with the amount of pressure they were starting to put on them during Nightfall. So Dino kind of has a bit of a blank slate to work with here. They do catch 2 Survivors working the main building gen. I honestly kind of question the decision not to heal Gray here. I wonder, I mean, we saw them working for body blocks, but I doubt we have something like Metal of Man in play. I think they just wanted to get gen progress after Ruin ate away at all of what they had. Indeed, we do see Gree playing a bit greedy here on the street gen. This is exactly what you don't want to happen against Dredge. You don't want to take a number of injuries in a row, as when Nightfall hits, it's going to hit like a truck. And I mean, yeah, this chase can continue around main building for a comfortably long time. We've already established main building is really strong against Dredge, but not against Bloodlust. That is going to be a hit through the window onto Gree. Dino does still have the slug on Gray, and is going to just continue to commit this chase with Gree. They now have the pretty difficult to play around back of main pallet. I mean, especially against Dredge, I have a feeling we're going to see Gree just run straight to the corner, or at least just try making distance. Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. Gonna call out Ruin in the meantime, but this will result in an eventual down onto Gray here. Not going to make it back to the pallet, but they did end up picking up Gray. Gray and Gree, very hard to say back to back. But that is going to be an eventual down onto Gree. That's going to be a second hook, and this is a Survivor you now have to protect. This Survivor is somewhat of a liability for the Survivor team. You cannot let the Survivor go down once again, because, I mean, I was discussing in the pregame chat with a few of the other staff members here, I don't think we've ever seen Dredge on Dead Dog before, so the expected win condition here is kind of unknown, and I'm counting on a 4K1 honestly being a pretty strong result here. So if Dino can just get an elimination on Gree here, that's going to be a 3v1 at 2 gens remaining, and that's actually a very playable position. Very playable win condition from what I can tell on this map, as Dredge can't make insane use of his power here. I have a feeling it'll be slightly easier to play around, but we see Slasher coming in for a hit despite being injured, going to allow themselves to go down just to make sure they can buy that much more time, allowing Gree to make it to this admittedly pretty weak filler palette. But I mean, yeah, this is where Dredge specializes, winning a 50-50 here, and that is going to be the down onto Gree. But Dino not taking his kill, just going to keep slugging. He knows where both remaining survivors are, one of them already injured for him, and Gray kind of caught here at this TL wall. I mean, this is a very strong variety of TL because it is the Dead Dog Saloon version, but doesn't matter. Going to be a hit taken onto Gray here, but I question the wisdom of continuing the slugfest. You might lose your down onto Gree, who is your death hook. They need to just get this hook and get their kill secured. That is going to be exactly what they're doing. And with 3 injuries on the board, Dino's actually looking like they're in a pretty good scenario here, especially since they have kind of checked on a lot of these gens. There's not much progress on the board, at least from last check. So they should be pretty comfortable. Yeah, this street gen that was very far along earlier is now back down to almost 0%. And they can find an injured G-bot out on main building. But yeah, I don't think they're going to chase that. They actually, yeah, they have evidence 2 survivors here. That's Gray as well being caught at main building. And a beautiful fake of the Remnant coming in from Dino, getting the hit over the window. That was actually kind of insane. They kind of faked out as if they were going to TP to that locker and tried to cut off Gray, but they did not. That is going to be another hook stage. And I believe this might be another second hook if I remember correctly. No, it's not. G-bot is our other hook. That is right. We see Nightfall about to activate once again. 2 survivors left standing, and I mean, both of them injured. This could be a very strong Nightfall use. We do see the rescue onto Gray, but I mean, Nightfall has just activated. Dino does have 2 survivors caught out of the back of main building. Not many resources to use here. You just have whatever is left here. Main building itself still really strong, just with the windows, with the broken breakable walls. Dino gonna try mind gaming this, probably just trying to push the survivor away from main. Yeah, and we actually hear Ruin start on this generator, telling us there is another survivor here who's, I mean, definitely injured. We know all the survivors right now are injured, getting a bit messed up on the staircase there, but I believe Dino going to learn from that. Yeah, place the Remnant in a much safer spot. TPing back to it now. This might be a down. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a down. Gray just trying to get them to miss that swing, not going to come through. This is, I mean, some of these locker placements are really rough for Dino, so I kind of admire just how well they're doing it, how they're kind of being innovative with their use of the Remnant. They're not just doing normal Remnant plays where, oh, I place my Remnant down at a loop and then go around and hit you. They're kind of playing very crafty with it, acknowledging how difficult it can be to play around a lot of these tiles. Slasher possibly trying to get grabbed there just to stop Dino from concealing the slug during Nightfall. Honestly, a fair strategy. They are going to be the last fresh hook, so they have plenty of time to hang there, and I do believe that was their plan from the beginning. That is going to be the teleport back to main building, catching G-bot out. G-bot doesn't really have much in the way of resources around the shack though, so I will not be surprised if we see them going down fairly soon. But G-bot very good at working with very little. They have this weak filler palette, but they're going to make the most of it. Possibly going to try going for shack window. They're not going to make it in time, and that is going to be the down onto G-bot. That leaves just Gray standing, 1 gen to their name, and we actually see the unhook onto Slasher. Gray playing very aggressively here. They knew that they had to get another survivor standing, but Dino just going to wait out the base kit BT. There's no pallet here. There's no safety for Slasher, and they are just going to end up pulling locker. Nothing like decisive strike is allowed against Dredge, so that is just going to be another hook stage secured for Dino. Now, it doesn't look good for our survivors right now. They have 1 gen left. They have a survivor on second hook, 2 survivors that have been hooked once, and full injuries on the board. Dino with information on pretty much everyone. Beautiful fake there coming in from G-bot, but the new Dredge teleport speed almost giving them a hit through shack. Not quite going to come through though. Chase now being dropped and being taken onto Gray. G-bot most likely going to get the unhook onto Slasher. Yep, there it is. And Gray just trying to buy precious seconds for their team. They probably going to fake this. Yep, they do fake the TL wall, putting up an excellent showing right now, not losing any of these 50s on the TL wall, and that is going to eventually be the down. Caught leaving the tile, but I mean, this is going to be another second hook. That means that at this point, Vicinal has 2 survivors that are death hook, and they are going to have to play exceptionally carefully. And it looks like they actually were resetting under hook. Bit of a missed healing skill check there, telling Dino that they were just here. Dino going to catch Slasher out. I mean, the ideal survivor to catch out if you're on the survivor side. Vicinal, they do want their healthy survivor to be found here. They want to buy as much time as possible. With Ruin still up and 2 survivors on death hook, I don't know how this is recoverable from Vicinal's point of view, but I admire their fight. They are continuing to play this out. They are continuing to do their best. I mean, there's a lot that there's a lot of stakes in this matchup. This is going to decide who goes to the finals and who gets 3rd place here. And this is going to be another Remnant play coming out. Let's see if Dino has learned their lesson about this tile, and they have. They are going to be getting this down onto Slasher, just leaving Gray on the hook. And I think Dino has some confidence. They know that they might be able to track down G-Bot here with the Nightfall. Killer Instinct, not quite going to happen, though. We do see the unhook. I would be surprised if Dino does not keep slugging here, and that is exactly what's going to happen. They're going to take chase onto G-Bot once again, keeping them from taking that window. G-Bot, knowing exactly what Dino's planning and just going to run towards one of the last fillers on the map, actually. I didn't know this was still here. Going to be doing their absolute best to play around this. They know they just have to buy as much time as possible. We see the pickup onto Slasher here. And we see chase continuing onto G-Bot. Dino cutting off their escape to Shack. Going to be placing a Remnant. I don't know if this is going to work how they intend. Yeah, G-Bot going to read what they were doing. Just vault back. Finally seeing this pallet get broken. It honestly has decided a lot of chases so far this game, despite how weak of a tile it is. I think Dino trying to get the mind game here, trying to catch G-Bot, making a mistake, but not going to happen. G-Bot doing an amazing job there, not going down, and honestly could prove a bit crucial. Slasher going to be taking the next injury here. Window fake not quite being fell for by Dino Melon. We do have injured Gray on the back of main building. No resources to speak of here. Just the vault at the top of main. They will not actually go for it. They actually do have this back main pallet still. The survivors have actually had a pretty good amount of pallets here. Okay, I'm kind of amazed that that did not hit. Ping here must be very strong. Both these teams are North American, so that's not entirely surprising. And Dino actually not going to be able to commit to that chase. Going to TP back. Check on the street gen. We see it's probably around 25%, 30%. Just going to be making the survivors scatter away from it. Going to try getting the cheeky TP at main, but not quite going to get it. Slasher not falling for it. Going to be taking chase back to Shack. And without a Shack pallet here, they're just going to have to hold W. I don't expect them to stay at Shack, but I guessed wrong. Slasher going to prove me wrong and just keep taking the chase here at Shack. Now trying to get as deep into the map as possible. This chase is just trying to prolong time. They know they don't have resources. They know they don't have anything to really play around. They're just trying to buy time for their team. And I mean, we did see one generator was around 30% done. If the survivors can just keep buying time, they'll slowly gain bits and bits of progress. I'm honestly very impressed this game at how Vicinal has played this 3v1. Usually in a dredge set, when we get down to a 3v1, that kind of decides the game. But Vicinal has been doing a great job at just fighting back constantly. And here we are going to be seeing the next hook onto Gray. That is actually going to be the death as well. So Dino forcing it down to a 2v1. At this point, we could say it's basically unplayable for the survivors. One survivor in chase, one working on a gen. And I mean, with very little resources, we can't expect chases to last particularly long. Even with how well Vicinal has been doing without resources, it still is going to have to come to an end eventually. Dino just leaving a Remnant towards the other gen, just trying to find a survivor out. DPing back does actually kind of catch G-Bot off guard here. G-Bot doesn't have many resources to play around here. Not getting caught out though at this TL, playing around it beautifully. Dino probably just going to commit this time around and get the down. Just leaving Slasher as the last one standing. Dino with a shrewd idea of where Slasher might have been. They know that they were splitting these gens earlier, so they probably assume that this tactic is still being used by Vicinal. I dare say they're probably correct. Slasher likely hiding somewhere around this main building. Dino I mean, cleansing the ruins just for the hell of it. Honestly, respect. I was just about to say, Slasher may just opt to try hiding. They're playing a very quiet character. They might be able to get away with hiding for a prolonged period. But no, just saying, screw the ruin. We're going to get out of the way eventually. Dino giving them the bit of the nodders. They know they do have the 4K1 in the bag, and I must say, that was an impressive comeback from Dino. Going from one hook at 2 gens remaining, overwhelming pressure onto Dino from Vicinal survivors, to having a 4K1 is just nothing short of a miracle being performed by Dino here. Beautiful dredge gameplay, proving that even on a map like Dead Dog that they're not particularly useful or used to, they can still pull a very strong result out. And I mean, it's all going to be a question of if the killer for Vicinal will be able to pull off the same, if not better, result. It's not unheard of to see 4K2s on dredge. It is sometimes easy to make mistakes, to give him one too many nightfalls, and to give him a bit of a snowball like we saw start to happen this game. So it's not possible for Vicinal to come back with this, but if they do not quite meet the win conditions set by Dino, they can take comfort knowing that this is Dead Future's pick, and a very comfortable one at that. We do have as our other two sets today, Wesker and Doctor. I mean, I'll go ahead and just blab about my thoughts on the next two sets. Wesker, Vicinal's killer. I mean, a very mechanical one, a very micro and macro heavy killer. I mean, a lot of Wesker games are decided by just who has the better mechanics on Wesker. He can be very tricky to play around and play as, but that can give us some really fun games to look at. And then Doctor, pretty common tiebreaker. He's a very balanced killer, very well-rounded. I imagine both of our teams are just fine with that. We're going to be seeing Vicinal taking on the role of the Dredge on Dead Dog Saloon, coming back here in a few minutes. Stay tuned. We are back with the second game of the first set here with the Grindhouse Massacre's loser bracket finals. Gbot taking on the role of the Dredge, trying to get a 4K2 win condition or a 4K1 tie condition, beautifully set by Dino Melon from Dead Future. And we now see Gbot with a much more defensive build being brought into the match. Very attainable, but yet very difficult tie condition for Gbot here. But I have a wonderful co-caster here with me this evening. We have Tyro joining me in the casting booth. How are you this evening, Tyro?
Hello. I am exhausted, but I am here for one hell of a game. After seeing what Dino did last game, it's going to be very exciting. Gbot going to be chasing Hamden around Shack now, doing a very good job. Oh, actually fakes it and uses the teleport to go and pressure generators instead.
Yeah, does catch Finesse on that Ruin Totem. I mean, last game we saw, or actually, I guess I shouldn't say last game, the game that we saw disconnected, we saw Ruin get cleansed very early into the game. And without Ruin, like we saw last game, Dino beautifully used it to just control gens and managed to get that 4K1 beautifully executed. But with Ruin still being up here, the chase on to Finesse, Gbot setting themselves up for a pretty good early game. That first down, or that first hit coming through onto Finesse is pretty huge. That means that Malthinker's Skull is now going to be active and is going to be generating Nightfall a bit faster, but Finesse taking the chase to the exact place you want it, except not actually going for the pallet, going around the rock, and I think it actually does work. They do make it to the filler, and Finesse, very strong 1v1.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Finesse played that super well. Holy shit. Yeah, doing a very good job just out-pathing Gbot here. Gbot just putting down the remnant, but Finesse is not falling for it, just making so much distance that is going to eventually lead to a down here at Water Tower, but Finesse bought a lot of time, and now Gbot does have a hook on top of that Ruin Totem, which could be devastating if it is not dealt with soon.
Yeah, Dredge, a killer very capable, as we've just seen, of spreading pressure with Ruin up. I mean, especially with Sloppy Butcher being brought once again, once you start spreading injuries, spreading downs, Dredge can just, like, escalate the pressure to a new level. Even on a map like Dead Dog with less locker spawns, less strong locker spawns, it still can be pretty nasty. Gbot taking chase onto Dino here. What was important about that first chase, it was relatively long, but Gbot did get a few key resources out of it. That's something we saw last game that had an impact later on the game. The first chase did use up a few strong resources, and that let the killer slowly escalate the pressure into late game. But the important thing here is they still have a lot of resources outside of the gen spread, which should allow them to take pretty safe chases coming into the mid game here. That is the unhook onto Finesse. Finesse immediately taking it right where they should, deep into the cactus campsite side of the map. Going to be using a lot of the pallets here. I mean, this is probably the strongest part of the map to chase besides main building on Dead Dog, especially against a killer like Dredge that you kind of have to use clever pathing to get around. But I don't think they're actually going to make it back to the pallet. It's going to be a quick second down onto Finesse, luckily outside of the Ruin Totem area. However, Gbot not content for that. They know this gen was close to popping. They just want to get injuries during Nightfall, but the Street Generator, a very crucial one in Gbot's gen setup, has actually just been complete. And not even in exchange for another down. Wow. Ruin going to be cleansed, and Dino going to stay on their feet. I mean, the survivors of Dead Future are putting up a good fight here in the mid game. Kind of in contrast to what we saw last game.
Yeah, Gbot's just trying to use that Ruin that was still up in order to pressure things, rather than getting that tunnel out hook immediately. And it just kind of stalls out the kills that Gbot is going to need for that kind of result. Because now we have two generators pop. This main generator is still a problem, and it forces Gbot away from that hook, and they could probably get a quick unhook and maybe even afford the people if they're so inclined. But Just G-Bot having to go so far away from that hook is going to open up a lot of possibilities for the survivors. But at the same time, G-Bot cannot afford to just camp it out with that kind of win con.
Yeah, they are going to have to ensure that at least one generator remains incomplete, and G-Bot's build, honestly, in my opinion, doesn't quite cater to that as aggressively as Dino's was. Dino brought in an incredibly aggressive build, punishing the survivors for cleansing Ruin with the extremely potent eruption, especially on Dredge. But G-Bot here just has pain res in order to control gens here. And honestly, a lot of the time, I would say that's not enough on a map like Dead Dog, where it's so easy for survivors to die away from your pain reses. It's so easy for your pain reses to just not be there when you need them. However, they do have a beautiful body block set up onto Dino, but eventually they will get through and get the unhook onto Finesse. That's actually huge for Dead Future survivors. One gen remaining, and the tunnel out still yet to come through. Beautiful unhook coming in from Dino. Finesse now having the extremely potent main building to play around, and a hit tank coming in from Fancy. I mean, the tunnel out hasn't come through, this is true, but G-Bot is getting a lot of injuries out of this, but it looks like they are going to completely abandon the tunnel out. I honestly don't know if this is the play. Granted, they don't have much in the way of pressure across the map, but they are now guaranteeing that there is going to be a 4v1 at one gen remaining, and a lot of people would say that is unplayable.
Yeah, and G-Bot's just continuing the pressure here, going to be going after the last healthy survivor. A very good fake from Hamden, though, going to bait out that swing. And G-Bot kind of lost on what to do, doesn't know if he should teleport back or continue the chase. Is going to continue the chase here. Hamden going to eat the tag and apply that sloppy butcher. And now G-Bot has every survivor, well, except for Finesse now, every survivor injured, and Dino's still on the ground out there in the field. So this is going to be a lot of pressure here in the late game, and G-Bot might still be able to pull off that kind of tie that he needs with all these injuries.
Yeah, you can never count a Dredge player out when there's still gens on the board. I mean, the amount of pressure he's able to rack up just with a few mistimed injuries or mistimed downs is insane, and we do see the down happen onto Hamdan, but we do see the pickup onto Dino, meaning that only one survivor will remain on the ground at a time, but Fancy not on the strong side of this pallet. This could be a quick down. Fancy going to run edge map. Surprisingly, they do not actually pull Walker, just going to take the down here. This honestly might be crucial. No, G-Bot gonna opt for the pickup. I was expecting almost a extended slug play there, but G-Bot going to cut their losses and get the hook onto Fancy here, possibly to get the pain res out, yeah. Ensuring that the gens will remain under control for just a bit longer. And I mean, we see the pickup onto Hamdan. We still have 2 injuries on the board. We're still in Nightfall. We have that broken doll to make Nightfall last just a bit longer. And we possibly have another down coming in shortly. We have 2 survivors kind of cornered here. And G-Bot's still not in a terrible position, not in an unplayable position, but definitely not in a desirable one at all.
Ooh, very good stun from Dino. But yeah, G-Bot is just kind of scrambling now. Did get that pain res to deny some of the generator pressure, but he does have kind of a 3-gen, and with those injuries, it does make the survivors have to slow down the game just a little bit when they're trying to get that win con of just popping all the generators. But G-Bot will get that fresh hook onto Dino Melon. Not a pain res, that's important to note, but it is in the middle of all those generators, so that's going to be pretty crucial for G-Bot's game plan. And right now the survivors are busy resetting, and G-Bot is going to venture away from that hook in order to try to find it. Finds it behind main, and this is a very tricky area, but they do play that very well. Very good pathing from the survivors, and now G-Bot's actually going to go back towards that hook.
Yeah, I definitely wants to catch whoever's going for this unhook out of rotation. And I mean, I'm just kind of realizing now, yeah, G-Bot has a very nasty gen setup where Dino Melon's hooked. That's probably why they opted to get the hook without pain res there, was just because of how good of a placement that is, especially since, like I said earlier, survivors were taking chase there. A lot of the resources are spent, so even if they start working that 3-gen, they can't make chases last long there if they get caught out of position. G-Bot going to be returning to the hook. They just need to ensure that this unhook does not come through for free. They have to turn it into a trade at least, so they can keep the pressure up on this 3-gen. And fortunately for them, I don't see how Dino doesn't go second here. And that means the survivors have 2, I don't want to say weak links, but 2 vulnerable survivors on their team, 2 people that are on death hook. 1 survivor dying here would be rough for Dead Future. 2 survivors dying here would just be almost game over just with how tight of a 3-gen this is. This is kind of what we've come to expect from a Dead Dog Saloon 3-gen. And Gbot, they know that 2 survivors are working that street gen, but they also know that somebody eventually is going to have to come for this unhook. I'd be surprised if we don't see the survivors set up for a double save here shortly. They just need to ensure that they can get the death hook survivors outside of this side of the map, because if Dino dies here, that would leave a 3v1 with this tight gen spread. They only have pressure on 1 gen because Fancy is just lingering, pressuring this unhook. But Gbot going to fully leave the hook, actually not going to defend it and going to go for a survivor that's not on death hook. This is honestly completely unexpected. I don't actually know why they are committing to this chase. This isn't the survivor you want to be chasing right now.
I think Gbot realizes that once the unhook comes in, they're going to have to heal Dino Melon. There's nothing you can do about that. And on the same time, Finesse, who's the other survivor there, you know, he's also on death hook. You kind of want to bait him into that area in order to get that potential kill on him as well. And it also just slows down the game. They can't just sit on that generator that had high progress. And this does buy Gbot a little bit more time to maybe get a gen regression with a pain res onto that generator. But right now, I mean, we saw Dino Melon getting reset on Gallows. We see the reset coming through onto Hamden here. That's going to be a tag onto the Death Hook Dino. And this has already slowed the game down so much by them having to come towards the top side of the map away from that 3-gen. And Gbot found them, and that's going to be so much pressure. Dino doing his best in order to try to avoid any more tags, going to be vaulting into the main building, but we do have the survivors just scrambling here, trying to not give up any more tags for that snowball for Gbot, because Gbot wants this tie condition, and he's actually going to go back and pressure that generator, but he's successfully slowed down this match. I mean, both Death Hook survivors have to heal. That's going to take 1 survivor out of commission, and if he just pressures the survivor on this generator, that's going to be a lot of pressure macro-wise.
Yeah, I question the decision to commit onto Hamdan there, but that cannot be denied. That injury did slow down the game. That generator was around probably 60 or so percent. It is regressing now, and they are able to get another hit onto Hamdan, ensuring that Mouththinker's skull keeps working. Use the word scrambling there to describe what was happening to the survivors. It honestly felt like, yeah, you just poked a nest of rats and they were all just scattering, trying to do their best not to give away free downs there. Gbot now, Hamdan stuck at this edge map pallet, not a particularly strong one. Gbot not even getting stunned on it there, just getting the swing onto it. That is going to be a down onto Hamdan. Not a death hook survivor, but still a welcome hook, except never mind. They do get the last generator done, deciding this set for Dead Future. I mean, he looked like Gbot was making progress there, but I just think they were not quite close enough to the gen during a lot of these chases that the survivors, after resetting, didn't really have much threat on them. They knew they could just commit to it and work it, especially since there's 3 of them not being pressured at the time, because the chase was being taken onto Hamdan, somebody they knew was a fresh hook that they could possibly just let take their own chase. And this is going to be a chase onto Fancier. As at this point in the game, the plays are just for style points right now. Just trying to get the best result possible going to the next game. I mean, considering the map choice here, this was Vicinal's choice of map, by the way. They did end up with the second ban. They could choose between Midwich or Dead Dog, and I guess in an effort to try slowing down Dino Melon, they did choose this map, and it's not a particularly easy one, especially if you're not the one who chose the killer in the first place. It can be really hard to play a killer as, like, mechanical as Dredge on a map like Dead Dog. So Gbot put in their best effort here and did a pretty good job. They had a lot of pressure going. They just were not able to find that tunnel out, and a 4v1 at 1 gen remaining, as we said, is almost unplayable. And we are going to be back here shortly with Vicinal's pick, Wesker, on CT1, coming up here shortly. Stay tuned.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Grindhouse Massacre. We are here in the Dead Future versus Vicinal game, and we have the Gbot. Gbot going to be playing Wesker for Vicinal, going up against Dead Future survivors on the good old-fashioned Coal Tower. I am Tyro, I'm one of your casters, and I'm joined by Snapply Pie. How are we doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Very excited here because the next 2 sets here, we have Wesker and Doctor, 2 of my favorite sets to cast here. I mean, Wesker, just a very mechanical killer. Beautiful head-on coming in early into the game. Wesker, a mechanical killer. His power is just really entertaining to see in action, especially on somebody who knows their stuff. And then Doctor, just a beautiful display of each team's teamwork. And that is actually a very early first down coming onto Hamdan here. The choice to possibly get a basement hook, but no, they're going to opt for the top mid hook. Pretty classic on Cold Tower, but no, they're even just going to opt for the water tower hook. These are kind of classic hook spots on CT1. They're very powerful because they let you pressure all of these guaranteed topside gens and some of the ones towards the mid side of the map. A very good start from Gbot, very quick down, not something we always see on a Wesker game. So what are your thoughts going into this mid game?
I mean, you know, with that fast down, I know that the hook timers are a bit different now with that 70 seconds on it. But Gbot probably is just going to hold it very close, and the survivors are likely going to just try their best to triple split. We did not see an injury onto that head-on player, which is a good position for the survivors to be in. But Gbot is probably just content to try to get that second stage before going out to pressure things in order to speed up that tunnel out, because right now the only thing that you can really do is getting that tunnel out and get that 3v1 as fast as possible. That's Wesker's best hope. And Gbot is going to be confirming that second stage, just like I said. Wesker is pretty hard to unhook save against because of the power that he has. So doing a very good job of just defending this hook. Meanwhile, the survivors, they have to be splitting. We're probably likely to see 3 generators pop in response to this very soon.
As you say that, 1 gen pops, and yeah, like you said, we do need to get a survivor on second hook here, because, well, I mean, I wouldn't say there's any weak links on a team like this, but having a survivor that you know that can be reliably killed off when you need them to is never a bad thing. Gbot going to be waiting next to this gen, watching it regress. They have a beautiful vantage point here, able to see survivors going for the save from a mile away. Yeah, and I mean, with Wesker's power, you can kind of sky Wesker your way right back to the hook if you have to. And indeed, Gbot going to be going towards where they saw Fancy, sneaking towards the save. Fancy going to be pushed away. We know that they are not working on a gen right now. It takes a bit of the pressure off Gbot's shoulders. And we do see the yellow on that gen telling us that there is an eruption planted there. So Gbot now has it on main as well. If they get it down here on somebody trying to get the save, that is going to be an eruption proc, further regressing that main building gen. We saw it getting so close to being done, not going to get the hit go onto Dinomelon. That is incredibly rough. Still going to get the M1 onto Fancy, and actually might just take the quick 2-tap onto Fancy as well, getting caught kind of out of position there, possibly trying to get a body block onto Hamdan if they had to, but now Gbot kind of in a really comfortable spot here. They can just get this chase onto Hamdan here, who only has 1 resource to speak of, and it's going to not even get used. Gbot, 2 slugs right next to each other. 4 pain res is still available. I think that was a bit of a slip up coming in from Dead Future there.
Yeah, I mean, a very good double attempt, and they almost got it, but Hamdan didn't really make any distance to anything important or safe, and that actually led to Hamdan going down. And now Hamdan's just buying as much time as possible, but this also just breaks down even more time that the survivors have. They have to be set up for the save in order to prevent that tunnel out, but they also need to do generators and now also get that unhook onto Fancy. So that's very smart from Gbot to actually get this hook here. He's like, go ahead and get this save, because it's just going to be y'all wasting your time. And now that's going to be a kill at 3 generators, because Gbot managed to stall this out with that eruption play. And now we have 2 survivors here, both injured, and that's going to be probably a quick down for Gbot as well. Very patient coming through here from Finesse, going to be dropping that pallet and running towards this double window. And Finesse is going to be ignoring both the windows, going straight for that hill. We might actually see a balanced landing, which will be crucial for this chase. We don't see a balance, but Gbot misses the dash. The topside generator popping during the chase, and now we have the Godfiller rock right here. The Gbot is trying to go around, but Finesse, he's a ladder gremlin. He's going to be just fine going around. Gbot going to be going for that dash, but does not quite land it. Finesse doing an excellent job of reading it and just greeting that pallet over and over, buying so much time, actually leaves that Godfiller for a second Godfiller, and is actually going to be dropping that right away, forcing the pallet break. And then the dash is going to try to come through from Gbot. Very good for Finesse. and very good stalling out that down till the last possible second.
I mean, yeah, Finesse was just on the chase of their life at that time. They know that they need to put up an extraordinary chase to get this game back on track after a bit of a mid-game mess-up by Dead Future. But, I mean, we did see that one of the top gens pop. We see that Gbot's 3-gen on this top side is slightly weakened now. They do have the gens around 3 and 9, but they still have, or they don't really have too many gens to complement them. I guess they have one on the other side of Water Tower that they can try holding on to. But it looks like Gbot is still in a decent scenario here. They have an injury onto Fancy. They have a hook on the bottom side of the map that the survivors have to rotate for. And they have actually just found Fancy. That is rough. Gbot not going to commit to that yet, but the fact that they know where Fancy is positioned, the injured survivor, is huge. And they have even just found Dino as well. We see the Shemmer's probably around 65-70% done, and we see Dino Melon running towards the top side of the map. Gbot kind of has full control over the midpoint of this map, and that is kind of huge considering where this hook is placed and where the gens are placed.
Yeah, that was just a lot of information that the survivors gave, and now Gbot is just forcing. I mean, Fancy cannot go for that save due to the injury. Dino's the only one who can, and Gbot's just on Dino's ass, going to be pushing him away from the generator even, and starting this chase around the double window. Dino going to make as much distance towards the bottom side. Meanwhile, Finesse does go second, and we have to wonder what Fancy is doing at this moment, but Dino's actually running towards the hook. We are actually going to see a trade here from Dino Melon. Fancy has to be working some sort of generator on the top side, but it looks like Gbot's just content to get that pickup and get the pain res in order to stop all of that progress and go after the now death hook Finesse.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, even if Fancy was on a gen that was over 50% done, that might have just been an eruption hit on their gen and a pain res and a down onto Finesse. I mean, Finesse had an extraordinary chase during the mid game there, and it was like, it looked very promising for a Dead Future comeback there, but Gbot showing true master of the Wesker power, playing around Shaq beautifully, and that is going to be the second elimination at 2 gens remaining. I mean, the amount of dominance Gbot's shown over this map, they've been able to defend these gens very well. They've been able to make these chases count. Even the one against Finesse that did last longer than they would have hoped, they knew they could commit to because of just the position of it. And I mean, we are likely going to be seeing a wrap here at 2 gens remaining. A very difficult win condition to attain for Wesker going into Dead Future's killer round. And I honestly just don't know what you can play for here for Dead Future on the killer side next game.
Yeah, such a very strong result. Gbot just doing super well, like you said, mechanically and macro-wise. That is going to be Fancy just trying to last as long as possible. Dino Melon not quite able to die in order to maybe get a cheeky hatch or exit gate escape, and that is going to be Gbot just going around this 4-lane. Fancy just stalling it as much as possible, running back towards the window, and is going to finally go down, securing that 4K2 for Gbot.
I mean, yeah, like we said, this is a very strong result for Wesker. We're used to seeing, sometimes we see 4Ks on Wesker, sometimes it's around a 2K, 8 or 8 stages or above. So, I mean, this is kind of out of the norm we see for Wesker. It's not unheard of for Wesker to get 4Ks with gens remaining because, I mean, like you said, he is very good at camping hooks. He's very good at controlling parts of the map. And, I mean, for Wesker players, this is a map they've likely studied and know like the back of their hand. So, not surprising we see a strong result coming from Gbot here with full confidence on the Wesker. And the question is, will Dead Future's killer come in with equal confidence to be able to match this difficult result? We will have to see coming in here in a few minutes. Please stand by. Welcome back, everybody, to the second game of the second set here with Dead Future versus Vicinal for our losers bracket finals here at Grindhouse Massacre. We now have Dino Melon taking on the role of Wesker, and I don't know who else I could rely on to get a 4K2 tie condition on Wesker, but I know Dino is a very strong Wesker player himself, so I mean, I'd say he's the best we could hope for here. We do not see the brutal strength on Dino, though, which, I mean, for a Wesker is very unusual. We usually see brutal because it is just thought to be one of his best chase perks, but Dino working with a very tight win con, going to be running a much more, I'd say, aggressive build, just trying to spread as much pressure as possible to try achieving this. I'm once again joined by Tyro. I mean, what are your thoughts on Dead Future's chances here with the win con they have set for them?
Ooh, Well, you know, it's going to be an uphill battle, especially because that first game, the chase kind of, you know, resolved itself pretty quickly for the Wesker. But here it looks like Dino, for one, he lost Bronzy, and for two, Gree0 is going to eat a tag as well. And this could actually delay the chase quite a bit because Gree is in a pretty safe area here with this tile, is going to be vaulting that window and going down towards the bottom side of the map. But they're doing such a good job of denying Dino chase so far. Very good pathing there from Gree. Going to not give up the tag and is going to make it back to that Ormond tile and get quite a bit of distance. Dino trying to get a mind game off, but Gree not falling for it. Very patient from Dino, and that's just what he needed. That will be a down here at 5 generators. And I don't know if the Vicinal survivors had enough time to finish anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is going to be another hook at Water Tower. Was that 2 survivors? They're doubling that gen. Regardless, that is going to be the pain res hitting that gen, telling Dino at least there's not another gen around 90% done on the map, and that is going to be a very good hook placement from Dino as well. I mean, they have 2 gens that had progress on them and another healthy survivor presenting themselves right here. If Dino has a good deal of patience and is able to hit this bound here, that would be another injury and infection on the board, but it looks like they're going to play this very cautious. Dino knows they cannot go for anything too risky with their win condition. They just have to play this very safe and very calculated. I mean, we talked a bit about how Wesker is both a micro and macro killer in this game. Dino needs to kind of master both to try getting this result that he needs. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. We have seen some amazing win conditions set by Dino in the past, and on a map like Cold Tower that most killer players are very familiar with, it can definitely be achieved, especially if this hook onto Gree results in a second stage. We'd actually be seeing ourselves in a somewhat similar scenario than that we saw last game, with a second hook achieved very early on into the game, a few injuries on the board, and we'll just have to see if Dino can get the same snowball that we saw last game.
Yeah, one interesting thing to note is that Gree did go down on the bottom side of the map, and it did look like, you know, they had the double on that generator down there by the water tower, and then another one in the middle area of the map that also had a lot of progress. And in a way, Dino kind of forced a similar situation that is akin to an early down, because they lost quite a bit of that progress down there all together. And Dino's been interrupting more gens as well, is going straight back to that hook and just pressuring any potential unhooked trades. And because of Dino running Eruption as well, that's just going to be even more regression. But Dino wants this 3v1 as fast as possible. Dino needs that you know, 4k3 in order to get his team that win over Vicinal. And a 3v1 is the only way to do it, but it does look like that the survivors are coming in for a potential double save, maybe. Gray going to be pressuring Dino off the gen, but that's just even less time that these 2 survivors are able to be on generators. That's going to be tags onto both of them, and Gree's actually going to be running towards the top side of the map, but Dino is actually not going for the tunnel out. Instead, Dino goes for the down, gets the down onto Slasher, and that's still going to be a down survivor here on the bottom side of the map where this 3-gen is. And Dino's going to go and put Slasher right back on this hook and try to defend it. But that is going to be a lot of pressure. The survivors have to reset. They reset Gree right there. And all the gen pressure is pretty much gone. Dino does catch the reset off, but that's going to be Gray running into the main building, which is extremely safe. Dino going for the tunnel out. Meanwhile, it does look like Bronzy's setting up for the pull, but Dino does have the dash, is going to probably go for it here as the pull comes through. We are not quite going to see a trade, but we are going to see a grab and a throw onto Bronzy, getting that infection and an injure. And Dino's going to continue this relentless assault that he needs in order to get that win con and go straight after Slasher, who did not quite make it to anything except for this modified 4-lane here. Dino going to be playing around this drop pallet, and Slasher doing a very good job of just, oh, but Dino with a very well-timed dash is going to get that down back on to Slasher. And meanwhile, Gray was reset by someone, and Bronzy is still injured and infected.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of resets coming through on the survivors, and that means that they're not using this time that they have to get on gens, the time bought to them by Slasher, by their other survivors. They're just not quite getting the gen progress they need. We see maybe around 20% on this gen and 2 survivors being caught there, including Bronzy, and we've been seeing some amazing dashes this game. Beautiful injuries being taken onto the survivors, but I do want to point out just how much of an impact we're seeing the new extended hook stage is having on these games. I mean, we saw how little time was left on Slasher's hook, and that means that that's about 20 seconds of more time the survivors had to get that pull than what we are used to seeing. And honestly, it's just been very interesting to see how that kind of impacts these matches. But Chase being taken onto Shaq, onto Gree here. Definitely a pretty strong area to chase for the survivors. It is in the 3-gen, but there is still bountiful resources on this side of the map, even without pallets being in place. We do know this pallet is still dropped. It has not yet been broken. Dino finally going to opt to break it. They know that they have to get more quick chases, and they're just not going to find that right now. Not quite able to get the injury on the board yet. This is it. A lot of these fillers do deny Wesker his main source of lethality, and that's his dash. I mean, there's just so many line of sight blockers on this map for the survivors to use to block Dino from getting these rushes, trying to block him from getting the infection, and block him from getting easy hits and throws edge map, which is kind of the #1 thing you have to prevent against a Wesker player. And this is where we're seeing the lack of brutal strength kind of hurting. A lot of these filler pallets, just trying to break them in a timely manner. That was very unfortunate, not quite going to connect that rush. We do still have the eruption in play, but I have a feeling that the generator saw being worked earlier at the TL wall is going to be getting close to being finished here, and I don't know how much more time Dino really has to commit. All the survivors need to do is pop 2 gens, and that will be the win condition secured.
Yeah, and right now Gree is just buying so much time with this chase. They even have a survivor coming through to take a hit. Dino did not break that door earlier, so that's going to be quite a bit of distance with Gree getting away. And Slasher is also a target, but Dino does miss that dash and is not going to get the down, and that will be the gen popping for the tie condition. Dino no longer has that hope of getting the quick 2-0 victory for Dead Future, but at the same time, Dino wants this to be a tie because that would send them into the tiebreaker with a leg up. And but Dino still has 4 survivors on the board and a lot of gen progress.
I mean, yeah, last game we said that a 4v1 with 1 gen remaining was difficult, but imagine a 4v1 with 2 gens remaining and you can't let any of them pop. That is where, like, at that point, it is just almost unholdable, especially for a killer like Wesker, who has some mobility, but unlike Dredge, just doesn't have a power that lets you be everywhere at once when you have to be. He is getting dragged towards this bottom side of the map that he once was comfortable holding, but now knows has a lot of resources, has a lot of things for the survivors to play around that can just waste time, and time is the one thing Dino doesn't have right now. He needs to get this down as quick as possible, get the eruption proc, and unfortunately we do see the generator pop in the distance, securing the set win for Vicinal, but we still see the chase on a Bronzy here, still denying Dino that eruption that they so desperately needed moments ago, but I don't think it will have an effect anymore. Oh, dash on to Gree though. Gree coming in for the body block, not going to be. That's just going to be a wonderful dash onto them. I always find it funny when the survivor coming in for the hit gets hit way prematurely. And we actually see a lot of progress on this bottom gen. I was not expecting them to have gotten this much progress on another gen in the meantime. The survivors having great gen efficiency so far.
Yeah, I think Gree was trying to preemptively throw himself in front of Dino so that way they could get as little stages as possible. But at the same time, that kind of tipped Dino off that, hey, the survivors are likely pressuring this generator away from the chase. And he did a very good job of interrupting it, but now Dino has to, like, be super conscious of this generator, and they're, like, resetting. There's still 4 survivors on the board, and they're all healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I think Dino at this point is just going to be playing for as many stages as possible. They know that the set is already lost. They just want to get a good result going into the tiebreaker round. So they are just going to be taking what chases they can, trying to get what hits they can, almost landing that bound, but not quite coming in. And that is going to be Dino going back to the gen with eruption on it. They know they cannot commit away from this for too long because we see that it is getting ever so close to popping. And I mean, well, actually, never mind. It sounds like it's actually down to around 50% now. That kick from earlier did have some strong effect on the gen, and that is going to be a connected dasher onto Gray, getting caught at the Orban tile. That is going to be them running towards the top side of the map, but we know a lot of the resources here have been used earlier in the game, and we see Gray turning into a Claudette there, running straight into Dino, taking a hit and another infection. Dino just going to be going back to the bottom side, trying to hold this 3-gen, trying to put the survivors in a position where he can eventually get the 4K, just to send a message.
Yeah, Dino just holding on for dear life, trying to get as good as possible, like you said, just to send that message, keep the team's morale up. With the, oh, we didn't, you know, the classic, we didn't lose that bad. You know, Dino just trying to hold this generator, hold these generators with that eruption, but the survivors are playing this super slowly and efficiently. And the one interesting thing about slow and efficient play like that is that you're gonna start seeing those regression blocker events come through. And that's going to be super hard for Dino to play around at eventually.
Yeah, we have the full infection now onto Bronzy. I mean, does catch 2 survivors out at this window gym. Not quite able to land the rush. They were trying to get a throw to the edge map. They're basically a death sentence against Wesker. Basically a 2-tap. Not quite able to land it. This tile, I mean, it's kind of, this tile is kind of strange. It is a very strong tile to just waste time at, but then again, it is easily mind gamed like we just saw there, and that is going to be the M1 taken onto Gray, and this might just be a follow-up dash. Dino with a lot of patience, not quite able to land it though, not quite able to anticipate what Gray was going to do next, and we are going to be seeing the chase at the TL walls. I find these tiles to be actually semi-decent against Wesker for juking, and that is going to be them running to the L wall here, and that is not going to be a connected dash, very close, but getting blocked by a tree. I mean, now we have Chase at main building. Yeah, that's going to be the last gen popping. To be expected at this point. That is what happens when Chase is committed onto a survivor on the other side of the map. And now we just see the red car and a dream coming in from Gray. We see a body block from Gray coming in, trying to get the hit for them, trying to get as many stages out the door as possible. But that is going to be a throw on Degree, possibly a down coming through soon. I don't imagine they have this door almost ready. That we hear it almost open, and it does get open in time. I don't think Dino's going to be getting it down onto any of these survivors, and now it is just a race to try cutting Gree off from the other exit gate. But I mean, you can't judge a killer when they're put into this position. It might just be a 4 or 5 stage game for Dino, but you have to remember they were playing around a very difficult win con to achieve. So in a you see Slasher offering up their flashlight, but yeah, in this scenario we see the killer trying their best with a 4K 3 win con, and sometimes it just ends up with 4 stages on the board. They did their absolute best, got some amazing bounds, and are putting their team still in a decent position going into the Doctor tiebreaker set. Stay tuned.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Grindhouse Massacre. We are here with the Doctor tiebreaker. Dino Melon playing for Dead Future up against Vicinal Survivors, and the winner of this set is going to take it all. We are currently 1-1. Very exciting prospect, and with that, with that shock, that is going to be Dino Melon chasing Survivors away from the top side generators and into this bottom area. Dino going to be chasing Gray. I'm joined here by Snapply Pie, my co-caster. Snapply, what do we think of this Doctor set?
I, for one, am very excited to see a Doctor set. To me, it is the kind of perfect tiebreaker for a lot of these rounds. I mean, it's a killer that relies heavily on Survivor's teamwork, but also relies on individual killer talent, as the Doctor's chase power is not incredibly strong. So it comes down to just how well your mechanics and game sense on killer are. And I mean, first chases on Doctor are usually pretty hard, but Dino does actually have a pretty good tile here to play around for Doctor. This bus variant is actually really strong, and this should just be the down onto Gray, but no, Gray does make the vault. I'm honestly kind of curious if Dino could have just gotten the swing there, but regardless, I think this is going to result in the first down coming through. We don't have a head-on in that locker, and that will result in the first down. We do have Dino bringing Rapid Brutality, which in my opinion is Doctor's best chase perk, and we have Corrupt Intervention running out now as the first gen pops. Not entirely surprising. A lot of the times we do see 1 or 2 gens pop for the first down in a Doctor set. And honestly, I would not want this matchup to go any other way. I want it. I'm so glad that we got to tiebreaker, because in a game that decides who goes to finals and who gets knocked out in an elimination round, we want to see the teams put up an equal fight against each other, both of them playing expertly in their own chosen sets. And now it does come down to this tiebreaker. Dino once again taking up the killer, and I mean, pretty ideal setup for Dino right now. We have Doctor's new buffs, meaning that he can static blast more often if you mess up one of them, or if the survivors are not nearby you when you use it. So Dino can just keep camping this hook, keep shocking with static blast, and just defend these bottom side generators, with the threat of basement always looming over the survivors' heads as well. So pretty good position to be in for a Doctor for this mid game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's very interesting because Dino has kind of stepped away from that hook and is now going to be chasing G-Bot. G-Bot playing this pallet extremely well, going to be dropping it and getting a lot of distance away from Dino, but we don't see the unhook coming quite yet despite that kind of commitment. Dino's going to make it back in time and can deny it with the shockwave. And no survivor is actually here to get the save, so that's going to be a second stage for Gray. And Dino also did a pretty good job of delaying those other generators, pushing G-Bot off of that generator in the distance. And now we are going to see Slasher being chased around Shack, but Dino's just getting these shocks and trying to get that Madness tier 3, trying to delay as much as possible. Very good shot coming through from Dino, going to be denying this unhook, and now Gree is unable to get the save, and now we do see a double save coming through. Dino not quite landing that shock, but a very good body block coming through, and now we have 2 injured survivors taking hits for Gray off the hook. Dino's going to be going for more. This is going to be deadly for Vicinal.
Yeah, we're seeing the forced penance coming in action. We're seeing the rapid brutality working in combination with it, and we're seeing Dino with 2 downs right in front of each other inside the gen spread. I mean, yeah, they don't even need to hook Slasher here. They can leave him on the ground. If the unhook happens on Degree, eventually you just get your pickup and get another free pain res. I mean, you could hardly ask for a better position for Doctor, and this could hardly be a more stressful scenario for Vicinal. You know that there's not much room for mistakes here in the finals of the losers bracket because of it being an elimination round. So, and it all coming down to this, you know, you have to play as perfect as possible, and small mistakes like these can amount to huge things, especially on a set like Doctor where the expected results anywhere from like 5 to 7 stages. It's not a very result heavy killer, so you don't expect snowballs like this to happen on a set like this. We do see that generator popping does kind of break up Dino's gen spread, which is very good for the survivors. They need this gen spread to be broken as early as possible. However, I don't know if it's entirely great. We have seen that Dino defend a hook against a single unhooker this game, so I'm not entirely sure if it's wise to just send a single person to go for the unhooks there, and I think they have realized that now. This is going to be a second hook onto Gree here. I will not be surprised if Dino goes back to get their hook onto Slasher just to get another use of pain res out of the way right now.
Yeah, Dino just holding this really well. That is going to be the unhook coming through. And it looks like Gree's going to try to make as much distance towards top side as possible. We do have the bus, but it is the split bus, and Dino's going to be shocking left and right to deny these resources. Gree is going to manage to get the drop though, and now Dino wants to get some info, is going to get that tier up onto 2 other survivors. Meanwhile, Gree just playing this chase really well. In the meantime, the injured Gray managed to finish that main generator. Dino does bait out the vault, and that will likely end up being the kill here at 1 gen, but we do see the pallet here. This could be a pallet save. We don't see the static blast. Dino is just going to go for the pickup, and no save is here. That will be the death at 1 generator, but Dino managed to get quite a bit of hook stages as well as that tunnel out.
Yeah, there's something kind of curious comment about Dino's build. We don't see Noed being ran, which Noed is almost, I'd say, a staple in Doctor sets because of his relatively low expected win condition. Being able to just nab an extra 2 or 3 stages in endgame with the Noed down is almost a vital part of established Doctor strategy, but Dino choosing not to run it, instead putting trust into Forced Penance to do the work, keeping the survivors injured. And I mean, we do see it coming into play here. Forced Penance, I actually kind of really like that pick from Dino because it works alongside Rapid Brutality. Somebody goes for the body block, you get the hit, and you're now faster while they're broken. So a very fun idea from Dino, and it is giving them some value, but going to be trying to find where G-Bot's working, probably working the gen slightly out of static blast range. And we're now seeing the chase onto Slasher here at Shack. Dino just wants to get as many fresh hooks as possible. They know Doctor is not a killer who usually 4Ks, so you just try getting as many stages as possible, as many fresh hooks as possible before endgame, when you can finally scrape together the last stages you can get.
Yeah, Dino playing this very well is going to wind up downing Slasher, who has most of the bleed out bar gone from that bleed out scenario earlier. And now Dino's going to be claiming that fresh hook. This is going to be a pain res, slowing down that progress even more. G-Bot was likely on that bottom side generator. We still don't see Gray reset. And we do actually hear quite a bit of progress that Dino is able to stop. That will be the unhook onto Slasher, but that will be, what is that stupid perk called? Second Wind coming through, going to be healing Slasher.
Actually, I think that was just the Forced Penance wearing off.
Oh, of course. But right now, Dino just shocking G-Bot, injuring him, and getting him away from that bottom side generator, and is now going back to try to pressure it while the survivors might have rotated in order to get on it. We do see Gray in the area going towards the Shack, and the tier 3 Slasher revealed at the top side of the map shows that Dino is free to take this chase, trying to deny Gray as much of these resources as possible to get that quick down, and that will result in a kill. Gray is on death hook, going to be going around the truck pallet. This pallet can deny so much time from Doctor, but Dino manages to get it down pretty quickly and is going to go straight back towards that generator with that static blast fully charged.
Yeah, he knows he has that kill locked and ready. All he needs to do is send Slasher to tier 3, and they can't commit to this gen. It's so close. And they do get it in the end, but that is going to be the down onto Slasher. They know where G-Bot is. I think we're going to see a 4K on a Doctor match. Not at all what you really want to see on the Survivor side. Though it looks like Dino going to opt for the pickup onto Slasher here. Kind of interesting that they decided to do that, because now there is a chance for Gray to get picked up. But regardless, I'm sure Dino has a plan for this. They have several injuries on the board during endgame. I just don't see how the survivors get stages out the door in this scenario unless they have a miracle play happen. But yeah, like I was saying, a 4K on Doctor is not something we're used to seeing. It's not exactly what you want. I assume we are going to be seeing something like Noah being right next game, or another equally aggressive build to Dinos, because it's not going to be an easy time for the killer on Vicinal. Very good read there, getting the down at Shack. I assume we're going to be seeing G-Bot taking killer next game, and they're going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, a 4K 0 is quite the strong Doctor result. Dino doing extremely well, capitalizing on that little unhook mishap there at the bottom side. So Vicinal are going to have to look to snowball things out of control, which is very hard with a killer like Doctor. And on the flip side, we're probably going to see some very tight, safe gameplay from Dead Future when they are on Survivor. So that is going to be a very exciting matchup to see what they are able to do on the next killer game here. And we are going to see if Vicinal is able to bring it back with this incredible win concept by Dino. So, you know, stay strapped in and stick around, and we will be back momentarily.
Welcome back, everybody, to what very well could be the last match here between Dead Future and Vicinal, deciding who goes on to the finals to face off against Valhalla, and who else but G-Bot to take on the burden of a 4K1 win condition for Doctor for the side of Vicinal. And as I said previously, I expect to see an equally aggressive build to what we saw being run last game by Dino Melon, and my wishes have been met with G-Bot's current build. We will see what it is as the game goes on, but starting things right off here. Chase onto Fancy, find onto Finesse and Dino, getting them into tier 1 madness, and they are just going to drop after getting Fancy to tier 2. This is going to be a pretty decent tile for Doctor to play around, the truck tile. He can easily deny the drop of the pallet, and this is going to be Dino Melon, our Doctor from previous game, taking the chase here. It looks like we are going to be getting our first hit here momentarily. Nice little on one going in. Dino going to take it towards the bottom side of the map, just like we saw last game. I'm once again joined by Tyro. What are your thoughts on, what are your thoughts on G-Bot's win condition here and how they're going to have to play around it this game?
Yeah, that is a pretty hard win condition to get on Doctor, and right now, you know, Dead Future doing a good job of playing around it. Just denying downs is the name of the game, and that's actually pretty easy against Doctor. Doctor is not the strongest killer in chase, as we can see. Dino Melon just doing such a good job up against G-Bot, just going around this truck tile over and over again, denying the use of the power and just playing it extremely well. But G-Bot kind of loses Dino there. That is going to be a pallet drop, and Dino just playing the Doctor game really well, just pathing around the long side of things. We are going to see that first gen pop, and G-Bot is not quite going to. Oh my goodness, Dino is playing this so well. Avoids the shock and then gets the stun and then goes straight back to that truck filler. G-Bot is forced to break that pallet, and Dino's just buying so much time by himself. We haven't even seen a hit tank come in, and the survivors are cranking this bottom gen out, but G-Bot does not want to leave it in order to get a tag, is instead going to commit to Dino, who's just running down towards the bottom side of the map, just denying as much as they can, and will go down under this pallet. Do we see a save come through? We do not, but that is going to be 2 gens in response for the first chase. Very different from what we saw last game, and now it's all going to come down to whether they can get that unhook play off or not. And I'm curious what G-Bot's going to do, because with that kind of start, I don't know if G-Bot can afford to camp this out like Dino did.
Yeah, we're going to have to see a much more aggressive and active playstyle from G-Bot here. They're not going to be able to sit back and camp that. I mean, yeah, like you said, Dino, just a beautiful chase there. They actually had lucky break, but ended up losing it by the end of the chase there. And G-Bot now going to be trying to just control the top side of the map. They know they're going to have a survivor rotate to the bottom side to get the unhook onto Dino, so in the meantime, they can try catching somebody out, catch a straggler out, hopefully gain those Stabiffle stacks. We do see Stabiffle being brought. I mean, what I find interesting about the 2 different Doctors we've seen is what their builds kind of aim to do, how they plan to play around hit tanks, and the normal altruistic plays we see against Doctor. I mean, we saw a rare forced penance being run by Dino last game to circumnavigate that. This game, we're seeing Stabiffle, which unfortunately is going to be seeing minimal value because they have just taken M1 onto the Obsession. And honestly, Sloppy Butcher being brought as well. I myself am not a huge fan of Sloppy on Doctor, and it's simply because Doctor, you don't generally get too many hits in. The main hits you get is on your tunnel out and whoever comes to body block for them. And that's why I really liked the Force Penance play we saw last game in comparison to Sloppy Butcher, because I just feel like it is a bit more effective at doing what needs to be done for a Doctor set. Ooh. And we see Finesse trying to come in for the pallet drop, a kind of textbook altruistic play that works really well against Doctor, but unfortunately G-Bot was prepared for it and got the hit through the pallet. But I mean, it did do its job. This chase is lasting longer and longer, and G-Bot's situation is looking worse and worse. They still need to get 11 more hooks in the time that it takes for 2 gens to pop.
Yeah, and the survivors are doing a good job. G-Bot cannot even afford to pick up the tunnel out. Survivor is having to go towards the top side to pressure these generators while these 2 survivors are injured, and that's going to be pushing them off of that generator up there near the top side of the map. And we do actually find an injured survivor that is going to be Finesse, found here on the side of the map. Dino is likely going to be picked up very shortly, and then another gen might pop as well, but that will be a down onto Finesse, getting some more stacks of Stabiffle, getting that Sloppy Butcher applied, and G-Bot's actually going for that fresh hook instead of going for Dino, likely to get some more regression off, but that will be the pickup, just like I said. And you know, that's a lot of progress up here on this top side gen, and Fancy is healthy. So this is going to be an extremely hard chase for G-Bot to pressure things out.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to repeat ourselves, but we have said it a lot today, pointed out a lot today, how hard it can be to play a 4v1 with 1 gen remaining. And that was said in matches like Wesker and Dredge. This is Doctor, a killer with no mobility whatsoever, a very weak chase power in comparison, and very little in the way of gen control. So, I mean, G-Bot will have to pull off nothing short of a miracle here to get the result they need in a 4v1 with 1 gen remaining, especially on a map as large as Wretched, with gens this spread apart. I mean, it's definitely not looking good. However, we do see the Stabiffle slowly gaining more strength. We see the hook onto Fancy outside of where the survivors are working. They will have to go out of their way to get that. And we see another chase going onto an injured survivor. This is Jinxie being found at Shack here. I mean, G-Bot still in with a fighting chance. They just need to string down after down before the last gen pops and somebody gets out the door. Easier said than done on a Doctor set, but definitely not impossible. Jinxie going to be going down, G-Bot going back to hook, not even going to opt for the pickup. They know the situation's dire. They know they need to get more downs in a short succession to pull something back from this. And unfortunately, this gen was the one we heard with substantial progress, so they are pressured and almost forced to come back and try getting another down quickly. This is going to be Fancy and Chase, but we already see Dino kind of hovering nearby, not going to be coming for the body block. That probably means Fancy's not much longer for this world. They do actually manage to make that window. Oh my gosh. I was not expecting them to make that window. They do make the edge map pallet, buying precious seconds for their team. And this is not a particularly strong filler to play around against Doctor. I think Fancy will be going down in a few moments. Unless they make the pallet, they do not quite do it. So this will be another down. This is what G-Bot needs. This is a second hook survivor, but the last gen does pop, and they need to stop anyone from getting out of the trial at this point with no Noed in their back pocket, with nothing really going for them besides a few stacks of Stabiffle. I mean, this is just going to be, I don't know what G-Bot can do here to pull a tie for their team. I don't know if there's really anything that can be done at this point.
Dead Future just needs 1 kill or 1 escape on the board in order to get that win condition, and G-Bot has all 4 survivors standing in an endgame scenario. The unhook does come through, and that's going to be Finesse just buying even more time at the chase. That's going to be a forced grab as well, which is just going to buy even more. There is no slugging opportunity here. That will be the door being open, which means that Dead Future is going to get outs and take the victory over Vicinal 2-1, winning the Doctor set, winning the set, and going towards the finals.
Yes, Dead Future is going to be facing off against Valhalla in finals, I believe, within the next week. Vicinal put up an amazing fight tonight, and in the group stage, they played incredibly well this tournament, but alas, they will be going home. And Dead Future advancing to finals. This is going to be a climactic matchup. I mean, we have 2 very strong teams going into the finals, and I mean, tonight, any team could have won. It was insanely close. Both teams shined on their respective picks, but it came down to just, I mean, a Doctor set, a very balanced, very kind of generic killer. And in the end, we did see Dead Future with victory. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and please stay tuned within the next few days for our finals matchup. Thank you all very much for watching. We will see you very soon.